Hello and welcome to the weekly wrap with the USA Liberalists. We are your hosts. I'm Cody and this is Jordan.
Hello.
Today we will be covering a range of topics. I tried to include them in the title there, but we're going to cover a little more about Peter Boghossian and what's been happening with him at Portland State. We're going to talk about what everyone's talking about the Gillette ad. Go get woke. We'll see if they go broke. The trend seems to say yes. We'll talk about Burger King attempting to roast Trump. It doesn't go so well. We'll talk about Republican Steve King and his goof. It's a little more than a goof, but
Steve King did oopsie. It's okay. You can say it.
We'll talk about him, and then we'll also talk about the CNN analyst Areva Martin and her oopsie. And we'll also talk a little bit about Nancy Pelosi and what kind of antics she's been up to. So we're going to start with Peter Boghossian, though. He's the professor from Portland State University who was brought up on charges in front of the IRB for not getting IRB approval. He was actually found guilty of not seeking IRB approval, which I think is kind of funny because he's guilty of not asking permission. And I've always gone by the philosophy that it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Usually.
But he and his colleagues, Helen Pluckrose and I can't remember the other guy's name, but they were the ones who did the grievance studies papers, got them published in various grievance studies journals. So mostly what I wanted to cover is there was an article written in the school's newspaper, the Vanguard, and it was signed by 12 of his colleagues. I use the term signed loosely. They put their titles at the end, but they didn't include their names because, well, they go over it. We'll go over that in a little bit. He hasn't received any sort of punishment, and in a video that he did with Jordan Peterson, he said that it could include termination.
Yeah, potentially. Well, we don't have any. I mean, he's saying it could include termination, but I believe Peter Boghossian's tenured, if I'm not mistaken. So it's probably not that simple.
He's an assistant professor, I think.
Oh, is he? Oh, that surprises me.
I don't know if he has tenure or not. I didn't actually look into that. But
that'd be an important piece of it.
Yeah, and I think they're getting enough pressure where they're not going to fire him necessarily, or at least not right away.
Yeah, we'll see. But then again, I don't think he's going to be fired. I hope not, but it is concerning that he thinks it's on the table.
Yeah, and I think he would, if he wouldn't say it if it weren't true. Like, he's not really the kind of person who will
lie to people to make them look silly.
Yeah, I was going to say like overstate. He's pretty direct and honest. But some of the stuff,
he is a hoaxer, so it's not like lying is totally beyond him.
Yeah. There was a YouTube video that was released today with him and Brett Weinstein and his wife, Brett Weinstein's wife, and Boghossian's colleagues, where they were talking. They did it's a two-part video that they released part one where they're talking about kind of what happened at Evergreen, and they show video of like the meetings and like people giving their speeches and all that good stuff. And it was pretty.
Evergreen was embarrassing.
I knew Evergreen was pretty bad, from what we saw, but this just made it that much worse, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like how quickly it went from like this sort of like peace and love, hippy dippy sort of liberal arts college that people dream of to this authoritarian us versus them, oppressor versus oppressed narrative.
Yeah, where you've got fucking girls in wheelchairs rolling around, like hitting people with sticks and shit.
Yeah. But I wanted to get into this article that was written in the Vanguard. I pulled some quotes. One of them was that whoever wrote this, or the group of people who wrote this, which we'll get to that too in a minute, said that no serious scholar would view this sort of hoax as having much value. That was one of the quotes. They also claim that Boghossian's papers contained completely falsified data, and they called him a fraud.
It does technically have falsified data, but like that was kind of the point.
Right.
Like the point of the paper was that it was complete bullshit, the numbers are fake, and they're not even going to bother checking. No matter how stupid it sounds.
Yeah, that was the entire
That's the whole point. Like
reason,
Yeah, the paper doesn't make it doesn't even make sense to submit that paper if the data isn't falsified.
Well, yeah, it was to check to see if the peer review is actually effective.
Yeah, like expecting evidence and, scholarship.
And he said in one of the videos, I don't remember which one, he said this in, but he said that they told the reviewer that they put the data into the recycling bin and they don't have it anymore. And the reviewer said that's fine and published it anyway.
I've forgotten about that, yeah.
They also claim that he was wasting the time, effort, and goodwill of at least 40 reviewers and at least 20 editors.
Okay, every single editor and reviewer involved in this process that let any of their shit through should be fired immediately.
Right. He wasn't wasting their time. They didn't do their job, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like every single one of them is a failure at their job at a pretty severe degree.
So they, in this, and I posted a link to the article in the comment or in the underneath the video. So if you guys want to read it, you're more than welcome to. But they do attack Boghossian several times, saying things like there's no intellectual value and it was a drain on the value of unpaid scholars.
My bad. I'm back.
Don't worry, I'll vamp if you've dropped. Do a little dance.
I clicked the wrong thing.
Uh-oh.
I'm good now.
Yeah. They also attacked the journalists who were sharing this, saying that only credulous journalists interested mainly in spectacle are taking this seriously. And then
Are they basically saying only the Daily Sun would do this?
Yeah, they're using the fake news, I guess.
Well, they're like going for the tabloid angle on it.
Yeah, like these aren't real journalists; they're fake journalists. Like he lied, like he was a liar.
Of course, he lied.
This quote I thought was especially funny. Is they said his invitation of former Google engineer James Damore to tell us why women are incapable of excelling in tech fields was certainly disrespectful of all his colleagues who identify as women. Damore proved barely articulate, much less a serious gender scholar. And I was at that talk.
That's true. Damore is not a gender scholar. That's right. Accurate.
And Damore did kind of come across as less charismatic than Boghossian or Weinstein, but they're professors. They're used to talking in front of a crowd, where Damore's an engineer, so it's not his forte. But when he did
only
speak,
talked to other engineers.
yeah, when he did speak, he knew what he was talking about, but he wasn't as like, and it was not. Damore did not tell us, because I was there, why women are incapable of excelling in tech fields.
Yeah, that's just them projecting their own opinions onto his.
Exactly.
Like, I feel like it's not even projection. It's them trying to imagine what they would have meant if they had said the same thing.
Yeah, well, they pretty much just pull out like every sort of like victim card or trick, progressive trick that you've seen before,
they do
all
that
in
all the
one
time.
article. It's a nice view of kind of the progressive mentality. They try to play the victim card by saying gender studies, ethnic studies, and Black/African American studies programs are not new and have had to fight for their claims to knowledge against an academy designed to minimize them. These intellectual fights are long done, although the political ones rage on, which is why the clown car of hoax writers does not bother engaging with them. The goal in the contemporary bullying style of Trumpist politics is to ridicule the others for personal gain. And they had to throw in something about Trump, you know?
Okay, I'm do they not see the irony in that statement, or
Apparently not.
like that was the first thing I thought when I heard that. I was like, really? I'm being lectured about Trump's behavior in this respect, really? Jesus Christ.
I don't even think Peter Boghossian likes Trump. I think he probably didn't vote for the guy.
Hell, I didn't vote for the guy, and here we are.
Right. I didn't vote for him, but now I'm a supporter.
Fucking, I don't know if I'm a supporter, but at least I'm not running around fucking screaming for his head to be chopped off, Kathy.
Burn. They also try to attack free speech, and this is one of the things that kind of like shocked me when I read it a little bit. They said, unfortunately, education in bad faith seems more newsworthy than all of the great things happening here. These types of fraudulent, time-wasting, anti-intellectual activities are something we are becoming nationally known for under the guise of free speech or academic freedom. So it seems like a shot across the bow on free speech itself, saying that because we are allowing free speech here, that these sort of bullying things can happen.
Yeah, he's almost trying to make the argument that like free speech is the problem, but it's also what's under attack somehow. It's
well,
I don't know.
You have to remember, to the progressive, consistency doesn't matter, because the only thing narrative is a power dynamic.
Well, yeah, he's apparently challenging, free and open learning and education and an open atmosphere. By the way, free speech is bad.
Yeah, right.
Well, I don't know. You can't have it both ways. Fuck's sake. By the way, did you see the stream Sargon did recently with that? He actually managed to get a lefty to come on and talk to him.
I did. Oh man.
Good Lord, that was like at first I was all like I gotta admit at first I was actually a little bit nervous because she was like coming off as like articulate and sane somehow. And I was like, oh shit, she might actually know what she's talking about. Maybe we got a smart one on our hands. And then by the end she fucking was like, no, I have to leave. It's too problematic. It's too problematic. Get me out of here. Abort.
Right. It was.
No, really. I need an actual abortion right now.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Like she seemed like she was capable of holding her own in an argument, as long as she could
She got to frame it.
Yeah, as long as she could say ideological things.
Well,
because
it wasn't even that so much. I really think it was just as long as she is allowed to frame the conversation and with her definitions and her way of speaking and her assumptions. Like if she's not allowed to have it all framed her way, that's when she just shuts down, you know?
Yeah. And to me, the scariest part of that, and I'm not like saying, oh, I'm over here shaking in my boots, but
I'm literally shaking and crying right now.
well, yeah, from rage.
Can you see it? Can you see the shaking?
You're crying.
I'm sobbing uncontrollably.
Tears of rage.
Tears of like pure rage. Don't touch them. You'll get paralysis.
Cory Booker, tears of rage. No, what I thought was
I'm now selling my paralysis tears for $10 a bottle.
What I thought was the scariest part to me was that they couldn't have a conversation. Like her worldview was so different that they could use the same words and speak the same language, sort of speak the same language. They could use the same. They weren't speaking the same language, but they were speaking the same, I guess, words. I mean, they were both speaking English, but they couldn't talk to each other. They couldn't.
Oh, no, absolutely.
They had no agreed definitions. They had no common foundation. To her, everything is about race and power. Like that's what it came across to me.
Well, I mean, I think she actually put it across pretty clearly. This is just like the white fucking progressives. It's a guilt issue. It honestly seems like their entire issue is one giant guilt complex, and not just from the white side, because the white people obviously have a guilty conscience about, you know, previous atrocities, previous issues that America's had. They're kind of taking the responsibility on that themselves, and trying to give it to everyone else too, which is the real problem. Because if they want to take on the responsibility and pay reparations out of their own pocket, more power to you, buddy. But yeah, they want us to join too, which is where it becomes an issue. But it's even like with the black people, because she said something really interesting in the middle of it. She made the claim that she herself was anti-black. You know,
yeah,
like
that
when
I thought
she
was
first,
weird.
Yeah, it was. And it got me thinking a little bit more about that, and the idea of it's almost like she was ascribing inferiority to them, you know, just because of what they were as opposed to who they were. And it's come back reflexively where she realized that, okay, that's inappropriate, that's wrong. I can't help but wonder how many other situations where maybe instead of that with, you know, some of the black activists, instead of it being specifically anti-black, it's more like black inferiority. Sort of like an Uncle Ruckus character, but who's also self-aware enough to be mad about it.
Yeah. Well, she was Indian, like Hindu Indian.
Right.
But it was weird when she said that. And she kept saying, well, we're marinating in it and all this stuff.
Yeah, because a lot of that, that looked like projection to me. That looked like just sheer projection, because she seems to be coming from a place of, I was anti-black, I was raised to be anti-black, and sort of not understanding that not everyone was raised in that context. You know, it's not like that may have been her experience, but I got to admit, when I was fucking growing up, I didn't even understand what like black people and Mexicans and white people all were. I didn't understand the difference. So if she was grown up like hyper racialized, I guess I could see it, but for someone like me that was grown up in a situation where I didn't even understand that. I thought Mexicans were tan white people. I thought most black people were white people when I was growing up, because I thought it meant like actually like fully black, like the color black. I thought that's what that had to mean. As you can see, I understood racial politics from a very early age. Yeah, no, when it came to those sorts of issues when I was a kid, I was a complete dipshit.
Well, with her, it was, she said she was
anti.
What was that?
I said, not everyone was raised that way, lady. Like, I don't tell you.
Yeah. Well, we don't, like, her point was that, well, white people are just raised in an environment to be anti-black. And it's like, what the, what?
Yeah.
No, that's
Inappropriate.
silly.
Yeah.
Just because, like, it's as if not thinking about race or not taking it into account is somehow wrong.
Yeah, and I don't understand. I don't see any way for racial consciousness. Like, I really don't understand how that's supposed to lead anywhere except just old school racism. And not just from their side either, from the reactionary side of the white population that's going to look at that and say, no, we need to defend ourselves. We need to escalate this race war. Because she seems to be thinking like there's a race war, and it almost sounds like Alex Jones talking about shadow wars. Honestly, if I was being entirely honest.
Well, her point of view is like it's fundamentally collectivist. The
True.
thing that comes first for her is the group. It's the Indian or the black group or female group or whatever. But like for me, and I think most liberalists, the thing that comes first, it would be the individual. And if you put the individual first and you try to look at the world through that perspective and see everybody as an individual, you might have some preconceived notions based on your experience of people with different skin colors, but you're not going to have a massive prejudice if you're trying to hold to that principle of seeing people as an individual.
Blind society. Because I mean, I really, this is one question I wish someone would ask one of these people publicly, like what the end goal of the anti-racist movement is, like what they envision an anti-racist society to look like. Because for me, an anti-racist society would be a society where it doesn't matter what skin color you are, we're all treated the same. Right. That's supposed to be the idea of what anti-racist, a post-racial society. That's what a post-racial society would look like. Okay, so how do we get there? Well, it doesn't seem intelligent to use racial consciousness as a path to no one caring about race.
Right, that's just going to make people care more about race. And I had this conversation before. It was when Obama was president and Black Lives Matter started getting big. And we were talking and they said, I never really thought about my skin color until all this Black Lives Matter stuff started happening. And we were both white. And like, I didn't really think of people as black or white before that. But now it's in their head. They've achieved racial consciousness. And the only thing that will serve is to separate people. Plus the whole like pay for the sins of your fathers sort of thing, the whole collective guilt about historical actions of people who share a characteristic that you share is incredibly pernicious and dangerous. It's very, 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 very low resolution, and it's not going to help anybody.
I actually think it suffers from the exact opposite problem of being too low resolution. I think it suffers from the problem of being way too high resolution on the wrong spot.
Interesting.
Well, because it's coming. It's not that it's diffuse. It's not like it's a general idea. Really, it's a very specific idea. It's taken two cross sections, prejudice and power, and locked in directly on those, and said this is all. They're too zoomed in. They're not getting the whole picture, because even she said, like, asking for nuance and adding things to this is problematic.
Yeah,
it's not that it makes the image more complicated. It's that it adds more variables. It zooms it out, if you will.
Well, that's the whole Jordan Peterson already said this, but the whole intersectionality thing. Eventually, if you keep adding in intersections, I suppose you're going to eventually get down to the individual.
Yeah, because it seems like that's true, but that's also assuming they keep adding more intersections. Because I think at some point they're going to notice that our intersections are destroying the entire concept of a group. So I think they'll just stop adding intersections.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. They'll come up with some number like 5 that'll be
42.
enough.
That's the number of intersections that are acceptable. 42.
Well,
we finally found the question. How many intersections?
Race, gender, sexuality, religion, and I can't think of something else super general that's talked about all the time.
Class.
But yeah, I don't really talk about class though. That's because they're upper middle class. They don't talk about
farmland. Access to farmland. That's a big one.
Well, wealth, I guess. Wealth.
Water.
Yeah.
Lots of water.
But this, her viewpoint, her collectivist viewpoint, was kind of echoed in this article that was written against Peter Boghossian. They refused to use their names, and here's their reason why they refused to use their names. They said
they're cowards.
Well, yes, ultimately, but here's the reason they gave.
Mm-hmm.
We have opted to communicate our concerns through a collective identity, dun dun dun, rather than individually. Boghossian has not only indicated his less than collegial attitude towards his hoaxes, but has actively targeted faculty at other institutions. None of us wish to contend with threats of death and assault from online trolls. And so here's what I read from that is that they're hiding from criticism, actual support can't be authenticated, and you can't be assaulted from online trolls.
Yeah.
You can get your feelings hurt, but that's not assault.
Yeah. It is to these people.
Well, right. It definitely, because words are violence to these people.
I swear, I really think we need a test before you're allowed to be an adult.
No, because
I think there was something to it. Back when there used to be trials of adulthood.
Oh, like a rite of passage, you mean?
Like a rite of passage, yeah. Something you had to do to prove you were an adult.
I think generally there needs to be some sort of rite of passage. I 100% agree. I don't think there should be some sort of state-issued rite of passage, though.
That's
it's more of a socially thing.
You know what? We're turning into Israel. General conscription. Everyone goes in the military. Everyone.
Dude, I would have loved that in high school. I was super interested in joining the military, but everybody told me don't join the military, and it was when we were in Iraq.
Oh Jesus! Join the Air Force. You'll be fine.
Right. Well, then my brother joined the Marines.
I'm sorry.
Then my little brother joined the Marines. I went to college instead.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
Look,
but he was stationed in California the whole time.
People need, even if it is military service, people need some underlying thing that we can all connect on.
Yeah.
Something and something that proves that you've actually got a vested interest in the country. Yeah,
you gotta have some skin in the game.
Just I don't know. Maybe that's the wrong solution. I don't generally. I'm not for conscription, but I'm just saying that's one way to look at it. Is that we need something that's an underlying thing that everyone can relate to.
You have to sign up for the what is it called? You have to sign up for the service, some sort of, what is it called? Selective service. That's what it is.
It's the draft, yeah.
Yeah. Or at least, I don't know if women have to do that. I had to do
They
that.
don't. They don't.
I have my number and everything.
The MRAs never stop complaining about that.
I could still get drafted, which honestly, I love America, so I'd probably just join if it got that bad.
Yeah, sorry. No, I like Texas. Let me know when Texas is under attack.
It is right now on the southern border.
Well,
so talking about becoming a man, everybody I'm sure has seen the Gillette advertisement, I would call it.
I immediately shaved my balls off of my body.
With a Gillette razor?
Yes, as a sign of allegiance to Gillette.
So what was the first thing that you noticed about the commercial that was like weird, or what was the first thing that kind of stood out to you?
You mean besides the fact that they just enter with it's just like Me Too movement? Man, men sure are raping everything. Oh man, those darn rapey men.
Yes.
Finger wag.
Other than that, other than them completely alienating their entire demographic.
I mean, it was actually the thing, because to me, I watched the ad and I was like, this is what, just what, like, I wasn't even mad. I'm so used to this sort of shit happening now with the wokenomics. It was sort of just a moment of like, okay, do you really think this is going to go well?
Well, I think the people who are pushing this sort of like advertisement knows that it will get out there and get out there cheap. So we're all talking about Gillette right now. So
I mean,
from a marketing perspective, that worked, but at the same time, you get people who are like, I'm never buying their stuff ever again.
Yeah,
now, I don't know.
Go do Dollar Shave Club. It's more convenient anyway, Gillette.
Right. I don't know if the increase in profits outweigh the losses from people boycotting their stuff.
Well, how many companies have to realize that trying to advertise to fucking 8% of the population, which is exclusively a bunch of hippy-dippy losers that have no money and can't buy your products, isn't a great business decision.
Yeah, I don't
Unless
know.
You're selling tie-dye shirts, I don't understand how you think you're selling to these people.
Yeah, they're trying to get to the progressive demographic because I think it's because these advertisers, these advertising agencies are all college educated. They are those people, and they think, well, people like this stuff because I like it, and
they're basically going with, I like it, therefore someone will.
Well, and I also think that these corporations know better than that they do know that this will get their name out there. And it does. It works.
I mean, it got us talking about it, but like...
Well, I mean, they probably did a cost-benefit analysis. And in like a week or so, or 2 weeks, is anyone going to really remember this Gillette ad? Or are they going to, with everything that goes on, are they just going to remember Gillette, and then when they go to the store, they'll see Gillette and be like, and then they'll buy it.
I think most people can remember that Gillette is the one that called them a rapist on TV.
True. I'm never buying a Gillette product again.
Like I'm just gonna go buy Dollar Shave. I'm gonna go buy Dollar Shave Club. Their commercials are actually like razor commercials that are selling me a razor from my razor company that sells fucking razors. Shut the fuck up. Are you kidding me right now? I'm being preached to by razors.
The first thing that I noticed was he looked like he had to be like 10 or 12 years old or something, or maybe 8, but it was just being like held and coddled by his mom. And it had like the little pop-up balloons of like people calling him names on like text message or something.
Dude, I swear to God, these people won't be happy until the majority of men like are just walking around in fucking gimp suits waiting for some woman to come fuck them in the ass.
Well, that was like the first thing that stood out to me because one, like, where's dad? And then two, like, instead
Who needs them?
of coddling the boy and being like, "Oh, honey, it's okay. You're precious. You're the sweet little boy." Why not like teach him to fight back, and like take care of himself? Because that's really like ultimately that's going to solve his problems now and in the future. Is if he grows a thicker skin, stands up for himself, and is able to essentially fight back. I'm not saying he should get into online fights or anything like that, but
No, but I mean, growing up, you need to learn how to fight.
yeah, you need to get tougher.
Like, not even just for like general situations, but the kind of people that never learn how to fight, they can't deal with it when something real happens. They can't deal with it. Like, it was just sort of an example that I got into recently. Nearly got into a fight with someone, but when you're not willing to go all in, you can't ever actually finish something. And when it comes to fights, there does come a point where it's like, okay, we're all in. We're going to beat the shit out of each other. And he wasn't willing to do it. So it just didn't happen. And he sat his pansy ass down. And it was fine. But, like, how? I don't know. It's just these kind of people, just whenever something comes up, I don't trust them to actually be able to handle anything. And I don't want to raise kids that I can't trust to handle anything.
Where are we going to be if when Canada starts invading?
On their fucking like flotilla of meese.
We're going to have slap fights, I can tell you. It's not the America I want to live in.
I don't want to be rolled over by our fucking flappy-headed northern neighbors.
South Park's the best.
I wish I knew why they made Canadians look like that.
It was probably just an easy way to distinguish them between the
others.
Probably.
But Jesus Christ, it's great.
Another thing that stood out to me is at the very beginning, there's that kid who kind of rips through the screen, and then there's those other kids who are chasing him, presumably to beat the shit out of him for some reason. And then at the very end of the commercial, there's like an adult man who breaks it up. I'm just saying that kid's gonna get the shit kicked out of him later.
Yeah.
And made more fun of because of that. It's not gonna help him.
Well, yeah, it's interesting with that sort of situation where they think if they stop the bullying expression outwardly with the beatings and the like the swirlies and all that, that it stops the bullying. You can't make the other kids like this kid. Right? And that's what it really boils down to. It's not the swirlies, it's the isolation from his peers.
Right. And having the adult step in and save you isn't one, it's robbing the kid of the possibility of learning something.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, oh, if you get beat up, you learn something, but it robs him of the possibility to stand up for himself and to kind of develop that sort of attitude of like, I don't need to be a wimp, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, instead of self-esteem, which honestly, the longer I think about self-esteem and what it actually boils down to, the more it kind of feels like the entire concept of self-esteem is sort of just smug self-aggrandizement that's inappropriate, as opposed to self-confidence, which you have to actually earn. You know?
Well, yeah, I think I think this about most everything is that there's a certain level that's good, and if you go below that, it's bad, and then if you go way beyond that, then it's also bad.
Yeah.
There's like that middle ground.
Well, yeah, you don't want to have inappropriately low self-esteem. You don't want to view yourself as a piece of shit, but
no self-esteem is like depression and stuff like that, but too much self-esteem is like arrogance and haughtiness.
Yeah, and coming from the fucking class of people that are already technically our aristocrats, if you will, it's
Right.
extra annoying that they don't seem to have developed any sense of class along with their aristocracy.
Yeah, and then they in the Gillette ad, they used all these like boogeyman terms like boys will be boys and stuff like that.
Who the fuck actually like whenever someone says boys will be boys, it's someone that's just given up because they've got two young boys that like to wrestle.
Right. Or it's two boys or a group of boys who go out and get muddy, or they come back and they have like torn up clothes or something. It's like, oh, boys will be boys, or they're outside playing tag loudly or something.
Yeah, it's like it's innocent.
Right.
Whenever someone says boys will be boys, it's like an innocent term describing little boys. We're
Yeah,
not
but
what
it
how did it become boys will be boys equals, I got raped by Johnny. Oh, boys will be boys.
well,
When the fuck has that happened?
I think there was a case, like a rape case, where the lawyer probably tried to use that as a defense, and it was like
I
national
refuse.
news, something
I
like that.
need a fucking transcript because I refuse to believe offhand without a transcript of some sort that an actual lawyer walked into an actual room and actually said, as defense, boys will be boys. I refuse. I require a
Right.
transcript.
I have no evidence, but I think something like that, or like it was a case where probably the girl was drunk and the guy was less drunk or something, and they're like, "Well, boys will be boys. Boys do that. And boys wanna get with girls. That's just boys being boys." I think it was misused by somebody, and then that was taken. Um, they pounced on it, and you know how progressives are. They want to control the language and change things. So they pounced on that to make it mean boys will be boys equals rape, essentially. But I don't know specifically where it came from, but that's kind of
Yeah.
the sense I get. Um,
Yeah, with some of these weird things they latch on to, it's just why?
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Um, and then they talked about like the guy who said, "Smile, sweetie." Um, my first reaction to that was, "Who the heck says that?" None of my friends have
It,
said that. I've never said
it's
that. Like
it's an old
maybe
dude. Like
right,
I can actually I do know something about this because the idea is supposed to be like it used to be that almost like as a compliment because the idea was they were saying smile sweetie you're too beautiful to look that sad that was the old thing um and I guess over time it sort of got feminists took it as like them be having like responsibility thrust on them to be happy for men's entertainment, which seems like an entirely uncharitable way of viewing that, but whatever. Um, when have they ever been charitable?
yeah.
Literally or figuratively, the poor bastards.
Well, and then like the second thing I was thinking is that's like the worst pickup line ever.
Well, like I said, it's an old timey one. Like I think it used to be sort of like endearing, but welcome
Yeah,
to the future. We take anything that used to be said and claim it's rape culture.
yeah. Um, and it's not even that bad of a saying.
No,
Like
it's
there are
not. It's
worse. There are
annoying.
worse pickup lines.
True.
But
Show me your
what
tits.
I nice shoes, wanna fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
um, pardon my French. So the other thing that I noticed was this is kind of where they start like showing other guys kind of standing up, quote unquote, to these rapists. And the guy who comes up and is like, "Did you just say that or whatever?" Um, he's practically like starting a fight with the guy over saying that to the girl, which apparently fighting's okay if you're white knighting, but if you're just wrestling like the boys in like the next scene, then that's not okay.
Yeah, it's amazing how that works. Fighting a defensive woman is appropriate. Fighting in any other situation, including practicing for fighting a defensive woman, is inappropriate.
Well, right. And those two little boys who were wrestling, like, one, they need to get better at wrestling. They're kind of like shitty at it. And two,
Really, we're roasting little kids for their wrestling skills now.
no, I'm roasting the people who produced the video. Those kids only did what they were told.
True. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I have a little brother. I was a little kid, and I had friends, and trust me, like, that sort of wrestling is 100% normal. That's just what little boys will be boys, right? That's just what boys do. It's not bad. They're learning to like use their bodies in a physical sort of way, and it's best that they do it with kids their age and learn to, like what you can do and what you can't do. And I might be confusing boys with puppies. Anyway, it's totally fine for young boys to be rowdy that way. Like my nephews are that way. They're that way with their friends now, and they're like 9 and 10. They'll be out in the cul-de-sac just wrestling on the lawn with their buddies and pushing each other and giving each other a hard time. And that's kind of how guys like test each other to make sure that you're strong enough or you're resilient enough to be useful if things hit the fan. So that dad didn't need to break up that fight ultimately.
Yeah, that's some dad right there. Hey, dad, can we play catch? No, son, we're gonna play sit in the corner quietly.
We don't treat each other that way, is what he said.
Yes, we do. What the fuck are you talking about? It's fun.
Like, Dad, go sit in the corner.
Right? We're gonna play the quiet game, son, like men, like manly men, like Gillette said.
Right. And
this is new manly. Be as unmanly as you can. It's the new manly.
To be a man, you got to be a woman, apparently.
Except not as good, because everyone knows that women are better.
Well, they're nicer to look at.
That's true. That's true. I don't know. Terry Crews is still looking mighty fine. Good job, Terry.
Yeah.
What, he's like 50. He's like 50. He's doing great. Look at him. He's doing great.
I'll take your word for that.
Leaving me hanging on this one. Fuck you.
I'm like, who is that? Who is that guy? I don't know who that guy is.
Wait, you don't know who Terry Crews is?
Nope.
What? Oh, Jesus Christ. Here, hold on.
You're going to have to freaking figure this out.
Oh my God. I seriously don't know who Terry Crews is. Hold up. Let's see. Ah, there we go. Okay, perfect. All right, we're going to do a little bit of screen share. Bam. For anyone in our audience that somehow doesn't know Terry Crews, this guy.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what the? Okay, get out of here. Yeah.
Okay, I know who that guy is. Badass motherfucker.
Yeah. I'm saying for 50, he's doing awesome.
I just didn't put a name. I didn't know his name, but I know.
Old Spice Power guy. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess I'm uncultured for not knowing who that guy is.
Oh, just a little bit.
Just a little.
My estimation of you has gone down, but not too much. It's fine.
Okay, good. We can still co-host the show together.
Yes, we can.
I'll just have to do more of the work later. I'll have to do the editing because we can do that.
Oh yeah, the editing quality, as our viewers can tell, is amazing.
Of course. Speaking of amazing editing quality, There's another one of those amazing transitions. I saw this on a few different outlets where they were saying Burger King, and I put this in scare quotes, roasts Trump. All they said, because Trump did a tweet where he said hamburgers instead of hamburgers, which, whatever,
I don't care.
it's a typo. And sure, it's funny. Like, Kofifi was hilarious.
Kofifi was hilarious.
And Trump
I think you
reacted.
Mean thank you.
Trump reacted to that Kofifi thing perfectly. It was just like, well, I said it. Like, have fun.
I mean, that's how the tweet doesn't even seem that serious. It seems like they're taking it with a sense of humor, you know.
Burger King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little pithy, but it's a pretty like bog standard roast, you know.
It's pretty well. I took issue with calling it a roast. It was kind of like a humorous jest at best.
Yeah, it was like a jab.
It wasn't like Trump wasn't roasted. Like, he's not like, fucking, I'll never order Whopper again or anything like that. But all they said was, due to large order placed yesterday, we're all out of hamburgers, just serving hamburgers today.
Yeah, it's a joke.
It's like, ha ha ha. Like, that's kind of funny. And I'm not mad at Burger King for writing that. Like,
no, it's USA Today that felt the need to fucking flesh out an entire article to talk about how Burger King said something mildly pithy, sort of.
Well, and I have, as I'm sure most people do, have some progressive friends who are just crazy, and their reaction to this, like everything Trump does, is way more than anything that Trump ever does.
Yeah,
it's way more overblown or crazy than Trump. They're trying Hello, you're cutting out, man. But yeah, I just thought the reaction was kind of elitist and overblown.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, especially, oh my God, I can't tell you how many people I saw that were like talking about all this shit with, oh my God, I can't believe he served hamburgers in this special historic room. Why the fuck not?
Right?
Fuck you. Like,
they're fucking delicious.
It's not bad food. Like, it's okay. It's not fucking caviar, but like, well, come on.
And did you see the fact checking on this?
Oh my God, there was fact checking on. Oh yeah, that's right, because he said it was a mile of hamburgers, and you had fucking some autist sitting there going, "Excuse me, 300 hamburgers at 2 inches apiece does not equal a mile high, sir." False. False claim. Fake news. Boom.
Trump is just he's just lying. He's a liar.
So much lying.
Because
his lies are huge. His lies are huge.
There's no such thing as like humor or
hyperbole.
Hyperbole, yeah. These people don't understand that everything's literal because they're children. Essentially, like if you tell like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old or something like, oh, there were a million people there on the bus, they'll literally think there was 1 million people on the bus.
I want Trump to actually go even harder. Instead of it being a mile, I want him to like just go absolutely ham and be like, yeah, I got like hamburgers. It was 100 miles high. 100 miles high of hamburgers, just hamburgers everywhere. The hamburgers were flooding the streets and drowning children. And I just want the Washington Post to be like, there were 0 children drowned by hamburgers. So this is false.
We're going to build a wall of hamburgers.
Excuse me, Trump. It's impossible to build a salient wall out of hamburgers. False.
Well, it's like, they were delicious. Actually, Burger King is the least delicious burgers there are. False.
In our testing, we tried all of the different burger joints available in Washington,
Right.
D.C. to make sure, and this is false. Like,
wonder-
holy shit, you guys, seriously?
I wonder if he got like something like In-N-Out or something, they wouldn't be so freaked out.
If there's just like a whole smorgasbord of In-N-Out, all fucking animal style, they're just gonna be like, "Oh my
Yes.
god, yes!" You have all the fucking progressives just like salivating over it, throwing some Starbucks, and just watch their heads spin on there.
Right? If he had like Starbucks and In-N-Out burger and what is something else that they like?
Trader Joe's, something from Trader Joe's.
Yes, there you go. Like Trader Joe's chips and salt. No, hummus. Some sort of hummus. Trader Joe's.
Yeah, but do they like
Ethically
hummus?
sourced hummus.
Do they actually like hummus? Because that is a little Jewish.
And
we know progressives don't like the Jews.
They love the hummus as long as it's ethically sourced and organic.
Of course. What was I thinking?
It already tastes like nothing. Has no flavor. It needs to be spicy. And even then, it just tastes like paste.
You need to, like, honestly, if you want to try hummus, like the proper hummus, you've got to make it. Like, you've got to have someone make it fresh. There's a lot of foods out there that, honestly, if you've never tasted it fresh, you're not going to appreciate it.
Or I'll just stick with nacho cheese.
Okay.
Tastes better. It's probably better for you.
I'm just saying, get some spiced chickpeas and mash that shit up. You're going to love it.
No, thank you. But yeah, I just thought I thought the reaction to it was, again, like overblown, way out of like from a typo. And I do know what they're doing. We all know it's the Trump bump. They're trying to get clicks, and we're talking about it. I clicked on the article.
We are part of the problem.
It does work.
Yeah, unfortunately. I don't
And
think it's gonna last forever though, because I've noticed like an actual trend of my normie friends just being tired of it.
Yeah, I think people are tired of the outrage. They're just bored with it.
Yeah, because it's almost like we've gotten to a point where if everyone's outraged, no one is. So I don't have to give a shit anymore.
Well, it's no fun.
Yeah, pretty much. Like especially for trolls, because it's gotten to a point where it's so easy to piss people off that it's not even. I know
it's
for
not
a
challenge anymore.
Yeah, exactly. There's no art to it. There's no skill to it. There's no anything. It's just you say something. Like, it doesn't even really matter what. Someone will be offended.
Well, I've noticed, like myself, if I have like a progressive friend or a socialist friend or somebody posting something stupid, like, I need to respond to this. And then I think, you know what? Nobody's had any sort of reactions to it or commented or anything. The worst thing that could happen is I could ignore this. So I just move on. I laugh to myself and I go about my day as if, I don't get like notifications that I got a response to my comments, and it's just like whatever. But who did get response to his comments? Steve King. That was smooth.
Oh my god!
Except for that part when I said it was smooth.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, you fucking did it.
I know, dude. We'll figure this out. We're doing a show once a week.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get these transitions down, and then next, we'll have maybe we'll be able to play audio or something.
Holy shit! Are we gonna have images too?
We're gonna try.
Look forward to that, everybody. Audio editing, hell yeah.
No editing. It's just gonna be real time.
Sorry. What was I thinking? We're not gonna.
But Steve King. So I was like, I'd heard about this a little bit, and I didn't know exactly what he had said. But when I found out, I was like, yeah, that motherfucker. Like, why the hell would you say that? Now, I've had conversations. Okay, so here's what he said. I've had conversations with people who were kind of like this, but he said, quote, white nationalist, white supremacist, Western civilization, how did that language become offensive? Why did I sit in classes teaching me about the merits of our history and our civilization? Now, I have had conversations online, granted, so they could have just been trolls, with people who would say, and they seemed genuine, and there was actually like a group of them who said that I'm a nationalist and I am white, therefore I'm a white nationalist. Now, I don't know if that's just a troll, because that sounds totally like something a troll would say.
Could be.
Or it's somebody who does believe in nationalism, which is fine, who's achieved racial consciousness. And so they're recognizing their own.
That wonderful racial consciousness coming back around again. Oh, man, I love it. I'm so glad this is part of our fucking culture now.
Well, yeah, it's just like, what the fuck?
Can the next generation please grow up already and just like clear mine out a little bit? Like, I'm really sorry to the next generation. We fucked up. I tried.
I'm still trying, man. I'm still here.
I'm still trying.
I'm a millennial. I haven't fucked it up too much yet.
No, we're trying. I was a progressive for a little bit. I still have some sins to atone for.
Look, we need to get all these boomers out, and we need to get all of the Gen Xers or whatever out.
Yeah, boomers got to go. Millennials got to go. Fucking, let's just invite these new kids in. They seem to know what's up.
Yeah. PewDiePie for president.
I would actually kind of love that. I mean, hey, if we're going to go down the rabbit hole like this with Trump, fuck it. Why can't a YouTuber be president? Besides him being Swedish.
Yeah.
Look, okay, that's another rule. That's, along with the boomers and the millennials, that rule has to go too, because I want PewDiePie for president. Hashtag PewDiePie for president.
Yeah, PewDiePie would be great. Could you just imagine like addresses from the Oval Office? Bro fisting everybody and
Country review.
Yep. We wouldn't have a State of the Union. It would just be country review. Union review. But here's the difference between what happened with Steve King and what happens when a Democrat says something stupid, is that Republicans will call him out, like Mitch McConnell condemned him, saying Congressman King clearly uttered words that are unacceptable in America today. And Republicans and Democrats in the House overwhelmingly passed a resolution.
I didn't even know Turtle Man had a line. I thought he was too busy smuggling cocaine.
Snorting cocaine.
I don't even want to know what Mitch McConnell's like when he's not on cocaine then. Holy shit.
Yeah, he's dead.
If this is fucking energetic McConnell, holy shit. This man needs more coke than Colombia can provide.
So I don't want to call him Mr. King because that kind of like gives him dignity. Mr. Steve. Fucking
dumbass
Steve.
King. Yeah. He's the dumbass king.
Dumbass King. To me, he talks like an alt-right guy.
Actually, can he be the hamburger king?
He could. Hamburger King.
All right, sorry, Hamburger King.
But I didn't do a lot of research on him, but I read somewhere that he used to be a bulldozer driver. And then
I thought you were going to leave that at bulldozer. Just like he was a bulldozer at one point in his life.
Yeah. He identified as a bulldozer.
Yes.
Don't hate on him.
Dairy Queen, like kid parking lots, and ran around in the sand for a little bit.
You fucking bigot! Don't hate on him. But he was like a working man, so not that condones what he was saying. I don't like it, and I do think that they were right when they stripped him of all of his committee assignments.
Yeah.
But he does kind of talk like an alt-right figure. He talks about things like the white race, and he said something.
He said something. He's quite woke.
Yeah, he said something before about like you can't save your culture with other people's babies or something. Oh, he said, here it is. We can't restore our civilization with somebody else's babies.
Cool.
That was the second article I read on this.
I mean, that could just be a nationalist statement because, I mean, technically Poland's babies aren't our babies either. So
true, and he's had screw-ups like this in the past where he's kind of walked that line.
Yeah, like if anyone even like starts smelling alt-right, I got to admit, it's for me that's kind of like no.
Yeah.
All of this woke racial consciousness, I don't care which race it is you're working for, just quit it.
Well, this first article was the failing New York Times. And of course, the whole article tries to paint Republicans generally and Trump specifically as racist because of the racist things Steve King has said. And so since he's a Republican and they're a Republican and he's bad and those people are Republicans, therefore they're bad too. It's this like collective consciousness or group.
It's just guilt by association. So
right. And I know both political parties do it, and I'm guilty of it too, to some degree.
I guess to some degree, but like I got to admit, the more I'm listening to Tulsi Gabbard, the more I'm just like, she's not totally crazy.
Right. I would not be like upset if she got elected.
Yeah, like if Tulsi Gabbard ended up being our first female president, I mean, I wouldn't agree with everything she's doing, but okay.
Yeah, I could live with that.
Yeah. It's not Hillary, so that's cool. That's a good start.
Heck yeah.
It's not fucking Pocahontas. That's another good start.
But yeah, and then the second article I read was an opinion piece, and I forget. Oh, it was Steve Israel. And I've heard the name, but I don't really remember where. But the writing on this opinion piece, as somebody who writes, super pretentious, playing my pretentious card now.
Okay.
As somebody who writes, the writing on this opinion piece was so bad. Like here's one of his lines. He said something. He was saying about how these words sit in his mouth. So he said they lay on his tongue like beef jerky.
And or semen.
Yes. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? This guy probably got paid to write this line. It was just
the bad. Words lay on my tongue like beef jerky.
Right? I don't know.
Awesome.
I hope, Steve Israel, if you're listening, keep your day job.
No, please don't. No, hold on. You keep writing. Holy shit.
But here's how he started. This was in the Hill, by the way. But this is how he started the article.
I need to go give that article a thumbs up.
I
want him to keep getting hired.
His two opening sentences. He said, "The king has no clothes. He's been stripped bare, and this time some of his own party are pulling away his garments, exposing him for what he is." And I'm like, so either he has no clothes or he has clothes and he's being stripped bare. Like, you don't do both. You can't.
Also, it's the emperor has no clothes.
Yes, true.
Like I guess King's not that far off, but it just feels like why would you use the reference but not use the reference?
Well, I think he was referring to Steve King.
Trying
to tie it in.
All right, maybe. I don't know. Either way, that's a really clunky way of using it. Anyway.
Yeah, it didn't go over very well with me.
He's been stripped bare, and this time some in his own party are pulling away his guard. Yeah, like, I thought the whole point of the Emperor Has No Clothes is that he hasn't had clothes for a while, and now somebody's pointing it out. They're not forcing him to not have clothes.
Right. They're not taking his clothes. Nobody's taking his clothes.
I feel like, does he not? I can't help but wonder if he's actually referencing anything, or if it's just a random assemblage of words he came up with it on his own, and we're just reading into it because it's supposed to be something else. Because that's the only way this makes any sense.
He got his hand on that progressive text generator or something.
This entire fucking article is just a Mad Lib.
Probably. Or it's like a NPC program that they're running.
When we're making these notes, we need to start doing like right-wing clickbait in the actual notes. You know how they do like whenever there's a verb in like when the right-wing people make their videos, it's always like Ben Shapiro destroys the competition. Like whenever a fucking verb comes in, it always gets capitalized.
Yeah.
We need more of that in the notes. Steve King is conflating white nationalism and white supremacy.
In our show notes, yeah.
Yeah.
Conflating.
I've had arguments online with people who try to make the case for white nationalism by deconstructing it. We need more of this. All right. I'm sorry. We're completely off track. What were you doing?
No, we're not completely off track. We're just almost there.
Okay, fair enough.
One last thing about this, and then we can go on to the other dumb things people said. Is that I wrote collectivist mindset in the notes because they try to make it seem like all Republicans are okay with all of his statements, like we can't restore our civilization with somebody else's babies. Thus, all Republicans are racists.
Well, I mean, they did the exact same thing not too long ago. Like when it was, what the fuck was it? I'm totally blanking on this issue. I had it in my head.
Huh. I don't know.
Damn.
I'm blanking too.
Oh, right. No, when Ocasio-Cortez with the nudes.
Oh, I didn't see that. I try to follow anything about her as little as possible.
Well, no, this was like an issue where basically what happened was there was like a fake nude of Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently like the feet fetish community confirmed that it was definitely not Ocasio-Cortez. Like, so good for them.
Look, they're super trustworthy, those guys.
Yeah, no, definitely. They know feet.
They have their area of expertise.
They really do. It's very specific. I hope all of them are podiatrists. No, I don't. I hope none of them are podiatrists. The instant I said that, I realized that was dumb.
Now I'll never go to a podiatrist ever.
You walk back in and he's just it.
Well, if he pays me.
Oh, God.
Gross.
Capitalism at its finest, y'all.
That was a joke, you guys.
It sure was.
Or was it?
Yeah, exactly. Sure was.
Yeah, like the takeaway the big thing that like I took away from both of these articles was that instead of saying like the Republicans stepped up and did the right thing because they did, instead of praising that sort of behavior of removing a racist from committees and condemning him, they instead use it to attack the Republicans who are condemning him. Because they're saying this is bad, and they're like, yeah, but he's a Republican and you're a Republican, so you're bad too. Ha, we've got you. You've admitted that you're bad. And this is why you don't apologize to the mob, basically.
No, it's honestly come to a point, when it comes to apologies, I think the policy for most people at this point should be, unless you're willing to accept your punishment in full, do not apologize.
Right.
Do not apologize. Don't say you're sorry. Don't say you're sorry if you caused offense. Don't apologize for anything unless you've like accepted that you were wrong, okay, and you're willing to like sit down and make amends. Unless you're willing to do that, do not apologize, because it will not help you. It's not going to help. The only time you should ever apologize at this point is if you really mean it.
Yeah. I always say don't apologize for anything that you didn't mean to do.
Yeah.
And then don't apologize unless you mean it too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a good rule in general, but it feels like a lot of people are trying to use apologies as a way to, hopefully sate the mob, and it never works.
Right.
It never fucking works. It doesn't. They don't do that. They don't stop. They take it as proof that you did something wrong, because they weren't coming with proof in the first place. They're just making accusations and hoping something sticks.
Exactly. So, speaking about making accusations, this CNN legal analyst,
legal
analyst from CNN, Areva Martin.
I need a CNN analyst. I want one.
Well, be careful. She's also a civil rights attorney, so we could get sued in the future.
That doesn't sound fun.
Would be awesome because we have no money. It would just be free publicity.
Right.
She was on a radio show on Sirius XM with a man named David Webb. Now, I've never heard of either one of these people. But the funny thing was, Martin, she said she accused David Webb of white privilege. And here's what she said. She said, well, David, that's a whole nother long conversation about white privilege, the things that you have the privilege of doing that people of color don't have the privilege of. And so when he asked, like, how has he benefited from white privilege, she said, by virtue of being a white male. Now, you know who David Webb is. So why is that so funny?
Well, if you're not aware of David Webb, he is a little black. In fact, he's 100% black.
I was going to say, he's not little, man. He's a big guy. He's all black.
I love the idea that we've finally come full circle to where fucking black people can have white privilege.
Yeah.
Like it's finally come all the way back around.
Well, and he said,
white privilege isn't even about being white anymore. It's like a way of being.
Well, yeah, he just said, he basically just told her, he was very fair and balanced about it. I would have just started laughing my ass off, but he was very like polite about it, and he said he just told her she should have been better prepared because I'm black.
I honestly think that was one of those, because if it was me, I don't think I would have laughed. I would have been too busy at the first 10 seconds solid of just being stunned. Of just being dazzled by stupidity. Of like, wait, what do you mean I am a black man and I've got white privilege? What does that even mean?
I think he probably muted his mic and started laughing, because that's when I worked in a call center. That's what I would do.
That's true. No, that's totally fair. I remember that.
Is when people would say silly things about their Netflix account, or I had one guy. Well, I worked for Netflix at the time.
Oh,
I had one guy.
I worked for Apple.
Who called in because he'd been watching, like, there's no porn on Netflix, but the closest thing you can get to porn on Netflix, he'd been watching those movies, and he didn't want his wife to find out, and he can't delete your recently watched.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wanted to know how to get rid of them.
Okay.
And so when I stopped laughing, I actually came up with a solution that I thought was quite brilliant. And I told him to find some shows that were acceptable, watch like 10 or 15 minutes of those shows so they go into his recently watched, and then eventually it'll push out those other ones off your recently watched.
Right.
And he was so like overjoyed. I'm like, I went above and beyond there. But Ariva didn't even like own up to the fact that she had made a mistake. She said
she blamed her team.
Right. She blamed her people for giving her the wrong information.
Like, she didn't even apologize.
No, because it wasn't her fault, because she's black. She can't do anything wrong because she has no power.
Like, not even towards other black people?
Yeah. Well, have you seen...
What, is that where we've gotten, where even in interpersonal relationships, black people can't apologize to each other?
Well, not if they're acting white.
Why didn't I think of that? My bad.
Yeah, geez, you bigot. There was this video's been out there for a while, and I'm totally going to butcher it because I don't know the name of anybody in it, but it's an older black man talking to a younger black woman, and she's telling him about how there's white privilege, and he says, I don't believe that. That doesn't exist. Have you seen that? And she tries to explain to him what white privilege is, and he kind of just shuts her down because her only argument is well, of course it exists because it's there. I've seen it. And she tries to make like the case that she suffered because she was black, and she went to these like upper middle class schools full of white people, but that somehow she is a suffering black person, and that... Go ahead.
The Jesse Lee Peterson interview?
Maybe. That sounds right.
Yeah, where it was like an older black man that was talking to a young black woman.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I think we're talking about the same thing, where he's basically just he's just not having any of it, and he's just like, I don't see white privilege, I don't see white racism anywhere.
Right. It was...
And, like, she seemed genuinely shocked that he didn't just automatically agree with her. It was really weird.
Yeah, and I wish that worked more. Because I don't think people like him or people like Thomas Sowell, or I don't think they don't speak to the black community. And I even hate that term, the black community, because it makes it seem like all black people are in this community together when they're not. They all share a skin color. They're not a community. They all have a skin color. Like a community is like my neighbors. My neighborhood is a community. My town is a community. But like a black community just seems weird. Anyway.
It's a little strange, yeah.
But my point is, they don't speak to black people, for a lack of a better term, in the way like somebody like a Kanye West could. Which I think is unfortunate, because not that look, don't get me wrong, I love Ye, you know. He's great with his dragon energy and his MAGA hat, and no one can tell him what to do, man. Like, that's on point.
He is unapologetically Ye.
Right. And I have to respect that about him. Like, I'm not like a huge Kanye fan. I don't listen to his music, but I can respect that he wants to be independent. You know, he wants to be himself. And, you know, he's successful. And he did that, you know. And I think that's a message that I think America needs in general, is that you can do that sort of thing. But I do think that that message has been taken away from black people, essentially.
Yeah, I agree.
Mostly through the welfare state and everything. But
no, I think that Saul has it pretty much on point. But I do wish he would spend more time talking to, what you were just saying, like the black community. It would really be helpful if you would really spend the time to go back into these communities and, like, instead of just talking to annoying white racists that are just determined to tell us how not racist they are. It would be nice if he would get involved with these communities and talk to the black community about these ideas and get it spread through and be like a real leader of those communities.
Right.
Because, like, honestly, at this point, as terrible as it sounds, I don't think they're going to listen to anyone from outside the group.
Yeah, they're not going to listen to those damn honkies or anything.
I mean, it sounds terrible, but I mean, if you come from that mindset where it's just like those guys are the enemy, they're going to fuck you over, that sort of paranoia is going to lead to a position where they're just not going to listen anymore. And it's going to have to be someone that they view as one of theirs. That's telling them, no, hold on, like, this is wrong.
But sort of like a tribalist mindset.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do? That's where we're at right now.
Yeah, and I just see more people moving into that sort of tribalist mindset.
Yeah.
And it disturbs me. So another disturbing thing is that Nancy Pelosi is trying to cancel the State of the Union. And her reasoning, which is the same exact reasoning that Democrats use for everything, is safety, security.
Of course.
Except for border security, because they are not for that.
Oh, no, but like congressional security? No, we need to make sure there's not nearly enough congressional security. We only have 5,000 guards. We need at least 6,000.
5,001.
I think we're going to need about $5 billion to pay for the extra security guards.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found that kind of funny, is that she wanted to cancel the State of the Union because of security reasons, even though the Secret Service said that they could cover it and it wouldn't be a big deal. It's the same reason they use to try to take away guns, which is something you and I haven't talked about before, is gun control.
What?
Second Amendment stuff.
Oh.
It hasn't really come up. So I don't know where you stand on it.
Personally, I would just give guns to everyone.
So we're like on the same page.
Yeah, sounds like it. I do think that there needs to be some regulations, but I think the regulations should be more about gun training rather than gun control. Like, I would be much more interested in making sure that people actually know how to use them and know how to defend themselves and know how to, like, deal with a situation if, God forbid, there is an issue where there's a shooter. Like, I think that would be much more useful. If someone wants a gun, we're in America. It's not hard to get a gun. I don't care what kind of restrictions you put on it. As long as there's a drug trade, there's going to be a gun trade.
Yep.
So unless we're going to deal with the war on drugs first, there's not even a point in talking about gun control, in my opinion, especially if it's going to be focused on rifles. Like, at least if we were talking about pistols, maybe. Like, we could just...
Don't take my pistols.
But you know what I'm saying. Like, if
right, yeah.
If we want to talk about the big, scary, dangerous guns that cause all the damage, you're talking about pistols.
Yeah, handguns, yeah, generally.
Yeah, generally speaking. Because they're basically explosive knives at that point, the way they get used. Like, I mean, it sounds stupid, but that's how they get used. They're basically giant knives, but they go boom. They're used the same way.
Yeah. I like knives too. Why not do both?
Right? Exploding knives.
You live in Texas.
Yes.
So like
we're actually getting pretty soon here. We're gonna be able to open carry broadswords.
Nice. See, my state's going the other direction.
That sucks. You should just live in Texas. We're better.
Well, I agree. But I gotta stay here and fix Oregon first. We're trying to pass. I thought about putting this in the show notes, but it's too local of the story, but I'll bring it up now.
Okay.
In Oregon, they're trying to pass a law where you can't have a magazine that holds more than 5 rounds or a gun that holds more than 5 rounds.
Isn't that pretty much all of them?
Right. Well, it gets better. You can only purchase 30 or 20 rounds of ammunition in a 30-day period.
What the fuck?
If you have any sort of criminal history, so if you got a DUI, say like 20 years ago, you won't be allowed to purchase a firearm. And there was something else that was just
Christ, for the next fucking...
you have to get a permit in order to purchase a firearm. Now, it was a permit to purchase a firearm, so it sounds like to me that each firearm you purchase, you have to get a permit.
Oh, Jesus. No, I'll just stay in Texas where I can have my fucking arsenal.
Well, and they want to raise the age to 21 to buy a gun, too.
I mean, that's not the biggest deal, but like...
Yeah, that I could go either way with, but I'm not...
Yeah, like, okay. Like, even if they wanted to raise it to like 25 to make sure that everyone that's a gun owner is like a responsible gun owner, maybe do like a co-signing thing where your parents can help you get one before that age or something.
I think we should lower it to 16.
I think we need to lower it to 6 years old. Get them trading while they're young.
Yeah, but every citizen born in the United States should get a gun.
Along with recreational nukes.
Just some of the craziness I got to deal with here in the great state of Oregon.
That sucks.
And we have a Democratic supermajority in both our House and Senate in Oregon.
Dude, all I know
and the Democratic governor.
I fully intend to purchase a Claymore. So that I can just walk around with it.
Well, and you need like your guns too.
I'll be like the hunter with 7 weapons. I've got the great sword strapped to my back. There's like a harpoon, a crossbow, 2 pistols on my hip.
No one will mug you.
No one will come within a fucking mile of me.
Sounds like paradise to me.
I just walk everywhere all crouched down like I'm hunting something.
Yeah.
Whispering,
but anyway, back to not enough weapons, apparently, for the State of the Union. Trump, in Trump fashion, which equals awesome/trolly, told Nancy Pelosi that he's postponing her trip to Brussels, Egypt, and Afghanistan, and urged her to stay in Washington to negotiate border security.
Mm-hmm.
And the best part was he said that she could go because it's her prerogative if she's willing to fly commercial.
In other words, no government money for you if no government money for me.
Right.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
And the whole government shutdown thing to me is like I like Trump and I hope he holds out, man. Like I want him to get that money for the wall, but outside of that, it just seems like it's super immature, to put it politely, that you just have 2 groups of people who don't want to give in.
Well, honestly, I think that both of them are kind of rolling the dice on this one, both sides, because it's really going to come down to like how this all wraps up. It has a lot less to do with what actually happens. It has a lot more to do with who the public blames.
Well, I think
So,
Trump
like,
has more skin in the game for the outcome as opposed to the Democrats.
true. And I honestly think that the reason they're doing this, because it's not like they wouldn't fund border security. They've done it in the past. This isn't new. Even the idea of a wall isn't new. This is all old ideas that are being, tossed around now. But I think the biggest thing is they don't want him to be able to run on finishing the wall. Because if he's got progress and momentum, he's basically just won 2020 completely on the merit of the wall. Completely on the wall.
Well, yeah, I think their mistake is that if they're going to cave, that they're waiting so long to do it.
Yeah, at this point, neither side really can back down, I think. That's why I say it's really going to come down to who the public blames, because there is going to come a point where the public kind of picks a side in general and just says, oh, fucking, Democrats or fucking Trump or that sort of thing.
I think most people would just be like, fucking government. And
to
then
an extent.
you'll get the people who are pro-Democrat or anti-Trump saying, those things, are pro-Trump or anti-Democrat or whatever.
I think Trump is actually in the worst position though, because it's much easier for a normie to say fuck Trump as opposed to fuck the Democrats, because they don't really understand what the Democrats are in a lot of cases. Because there's a huge section of the population that does not understand politics at all.
Right.
Like at all. The Democrats are like one of two political groups that do something to a lot of people.
Well, yeah, and it's easier to focus your anger on an individual,
right,
than a group, I guess.
Well, yeah, because one is like an abstract idea. It's like, oh, the Democrats did something. Well, who were the Democrats? What did they do? As opposed to Trump did something stupid again. And everybody just sort of nods going, yeah, that makes sense.
Which Democrats?
Yeah. Well, I mean, would they even know if he told them? So, but they do know Trump. And they do know that there's two sides on this and that Trump is kind of an asshole. So I think it's a really easy leap of logic for a lot of people to say, oh, it's Trump's fault.
Yeah, but the thing is with Trump, like, he doesn't care if people say it's his fault. And he said that. He said that.
Yes, that's true.
Give a shit.
What I'm basically saying is if he doesn't get his wall out of this, Trump is in a really bad position.
Well, I think the opinion on like the wall and border security, which is Trump is trying to move the narrative more towards border security, wall / barrier.
Yeah.
And then the Democrats are trying to move the narrative more towards like, oh, these poor government workers. And we all know, like, government workers tend to make more than the average. They make more than I do. That's for damn sure.
Mm-hmm.
And they have way better benefits. And so it's kind of hard for, I think, the people that are in Trump's base, like the more working class people, to be like, oh, yeah, these poor workers, like, where were they when my job moved to China or Mexico? Like, fuck those guys. Like, I don't care. Like, build the damn wall.
Yeah.
And I think most Americans believe that there is a problem on the southern border. And it's not because brown people are coming through. Because most people in America, most average people, don't look at somebody and think immediately about their race. We're not progressives.
I really just want Trump one of these days, whenever someone accuses it of being like a racist wall, I just want him to walk up and just whisper, walls keep out white people too.
I want him to shout that out in a megaphone, man. Like, I don't want him to whisper.
I just want him to whisper it for effect.
Yeah. Just behind, like, poking his head out from behind Chuck and Nancy as they're giving their creepy speech.
Trump just sort of like shows up like a fucking cartoon character, just sliding out from the side.
Yeah. That would have been great.
Oh my god! If Trump had just like appeared from behind the flags and just gave both of them the bunny ears in the middle of it, and then slipped back behind.
Well, I don't know. Did Trump tweet out any of the memes?
I don't know.
It wouldn't surprise me if he
It
did.
wouldn't surprise me at all.
Well,
it honestly, just Trump makes me want to be on Twitter so I can see this shit he puts in.
I know a person who said that the only reason they have Twitter is so that they can try to get blocked by Trump. They do not like Trump. And I was thinking the only reason I'd be on Twitter is to see what Trump is saying.
Right.
But I already have enough fucking between video games and reading and my dogs and life in general. I already have enough friggin' things to do. I can't get sucked into another social media platform. But I think Lindsey Graham.
Sure you can.
Right, I could, but then I have to give up something else. And we already got an amazing audience. We already got an amazing following here on YouTube, so we don't want to upset our fans by getting addicted to Twitter.
That's true. You might have to give up TikTok. I'm sorry.
Our fan. I think we had 3 people today.
Did we? That's good.
Yeah, in the live chat, I think we had at least 3 different people.
That's cool. Hello. Shout out to our homies, our 3 homies.
Hey,
someday it's going to be 30 million.
We'll remember these guys, man. They were here. They were here first. They're the originals.
Sign them up for a mug club. First, we need mugs.
Yeah. I think Lindsey Graham kind of summed this up pretty well, and he said that one sophomoric response does not deserve another. Speaker Pelosi's threat to cancel the State of the Union is very irresponsible and blatantly political. President Trump denying Speaker Pelosi military travel to visit our troops in Afghanistan, our allies in Egypt, and NATO is also inappropriate. I'm like, damn, where was Lindsey Graham in 2016?
Where has Lindsey Graham been this whole goddamn time? Because there was a long time where Lindsey Graham was made fun of on both sides for being kind of a simp. He was just sort of that guy in the room, and he's actually here now, which is interesting.
Well, I heard somebody. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying, completely, I've done no fact checking on this. This could just be completely made up. But I heard somebody say this because all this happened right around the same time. So it might just be somebody jumping to conclusions. But they said that whatever John McCain had on Lindsey Graham died with him. And so Lindsey Graham just could be awesome.
Right? Dick Cheney, too. Lindsey Graham doesn't have to worry about getting shot in the face by Dick Cheney anymore, so that's a good start.
Yeah. It's always trouble, man.
I still can't believe Dick Cheney managed to get the person he shot in the face to apologize to him.
Look, it could happen to anybody.
That was fascinating. Yeah, I suppose. It happens every day. You shoot me in the face. I apologize to you for making you shoot me in the face.
Look, I shouldn't have been standing there. Damn right.
It was super rude for me to be standing in the way of your gun barrel.
Well, if it didn't kill him, how bad could it have been?
Yeah, that makes it okay.
He just got shot a little bit in the face.
I was trying to give him a fucking bullet bukkake. What? I don't understand.
Was it it had to have been a shotgun or something?
I think it was birdshot is why.
A range. Oh yeah, that makes sense. So nothing. It's not like he had an AK-47.
No,
or a ghost gun,
as I like
to call it.
gets in your fucking eye, that's going to be okay.
No, it's not. Okay, PSA time. It's not okay to shoot people under most circumstances.
Shooting people's bad, okay?
Okay, it's not okay to shoot your friends unless they're trying to kill you. Then it's fine.
Shooting your friends is bad, okay? Unless they're trying to kill you and/or they're Antifa.
Whoa, no. Well, if Antifa's trying to kill you, yeah.
Mr. Mackey, calm down. God.
Look, I hate Antifa, but I'm not going to promote shooting them.
That's right. Mr. Mackey's way out of line. Get your shit together, sir.
You'll never be invited on our stream again, Mr. Mackey. But yeah, those were all the stories we had, or I had, saved up. Did you have anything that you wanted to throw in there?
No, I think we're doing pretty good. It's almost been 2 hours. We should probably wrap it up.
All right. Well, shout out to Young Trays for sticking with us and being live with us tonight. We'll have to reach out to him later. But and everybody else who was listening live, thank you. Please like and subscribe and share. You can give us a like on Facebook too at USA Liberalists. And we do this live stream every Thursday around this time. So click the bell. Go ahead.
I just realized something that might actually be a fun way for us to do some audience engagement. We could actually start because do you remember the Swamplands back from like the beginning of the whole like the Leah thing? It was a podcast that like one of the people that was working with us at the time was doing, and he was inviting on a whole bunch of like IBS things. But one thing he did that I thought was interesting was he basically set up a green room in a Discord chat so that he could like talk to people while he was doing it and setting up and doing all that stuff. Might be a fun way for us to handle it.
Yeah, we could look into doing something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to get a bigger audience too, and get some more people involved, and that'll help, and it'll be kind of fun, kind of cool to talk to these guys or girls. Who knows? I don't know how they identify. But thank you, everyone. We do work hard to get these stories, and appreciate everyone listening to us ramble on and make jokes about Mr. Mackey and Dick Cheney shooting people in the face.
What are you talking about? This is an incredibly serious news show, sir.
Fuck that. So I'm trying to think, like, should our sign off be fuck Antifa? Because I hate them with the passion of 1,000 suns.
Yeah, we need to keep the focus on love.
Oh,
we need to keep the focus on love. So subscribe to PewDiePie.
I love to hate Antifa.
No.
Okay. But thank you guys. Seriously, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.